A whole town NBA legend decides to call it quits and hangs it up. What will his legacy be? We'll discuss. To baseball, the Chicago White Sox on the 3-game winning streak. Yay! As they avoided history as they close out the home schedule against the Anaheim Angels. Lakina's Cubs are finishing out the home stretch as they'll host the Cincinnati Reds. And the baseball playoff races are heating up. We'll give you the details, and we'll give you our Week 4 preview of the Bears and the Los Angeles Rams. Will the Bears get back on track, or will the Rams and Matthew Stafford have another upset up their sleeve? That and a whole lot more as Second City Sports # Football Friday edition starts right now. Welcome to another # Football Friday fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are located on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support. Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you full spiel and be a boot.
Toodles! Oh, dear. Oh.
And she booted me. And she booted me out. Now I'm back in. But before we begin...
It's Friday. It's the last Friday of September, folks. Give us a break. Yeah.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. But before we continue, we must remind you can get Sports Zone Chicago's programming, including Second City Sports, live and in living color on Roku TV. That's right. Leave it right there, Lakina, so I can read this. Oh, boy. Yeah, you're right. This is Friday. So you can catch us on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, or your Android, just head up to Google Play Store, download their Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we'll be providing you with some of the best here on Second City Sports, of course. As Sid said, we'll talk Bears and Rams during our second half of the show, with our NFL Power Hour, of course, our pick'ems for Week 4, and also to some interesting news coming out of the WNBA. We'll talk about that. It's not to talk about the playoffs either, but we'll talk about that as well. Of course, with MLB and playoff spots are being clinched and divisions are being clinched, but the Sox they can't even lose, right? But that's a whole. We'll talk about that later. But first, of course, a beloved Chicago figure has announced his retirement. I'm talking about Derrick Rose. He announced his retirement early yesterday, and posted a really nice video on his social media page. You guys can check that out if you haven't seen it. But He's a three-time All-Star. He, of course, he won back-to-back state championships in Shakira, Chicago at Simeon High School, the junior and senior years. He was All NBA, and of course, sadly with the injuries and stuff, kind of derailed his career. But he actually still actually played pretty consistently after the injury, so you gotta give him a little bit props for that. But I know I've heard like some of the pundits, all over the city yesterday talking about, oh, he should have his jersey retired, which he should. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, the Bulls, they're maxed out on their contracts, so that way they couldn't do the whole like 1 day contract. He retires. That would have been nice, but it is what it is there. But Sid, what do you think? What are your going to be your best memories of D Rose? And do you think he's a Hall of Famer? I'll add that ditty in there.
I'll give to the Hall of Fame stuff in a second, but he had a great career, especially in the Bulls uniform. Like you say, he had some great moments afterwards with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the New York Knicks. But I just remember when he got before he got drafted. I wasn't a big follower of high school sports. I was getting back. I was in the middle of my first phase of my establishing my radio producing career at the time. This is prior to me going to the now defunct Sporting News Radio, and I started hearing this young man's name, Derrick Rose. He's this, he's that, he's from Chicago. And then I started watching that 2006 publicly playoffs, including the title game at the United Center on the channel 26. I said,
Mm-hmm.
could be something special. I know David Kaplan, who's with ESPN 1000 now, he called these games along with Dave Enner, who's working with WGN Radio, as in the past still does now. And of course, David Kaplan hyped him up before those games, and the hype was real. And so I said, okay, let me follow him. Of course, I followed him at Memphis. If it wasn't for his missed free throw and a couple other bad situations by his teammates, they would have beaten Kansas that year in San Antonio in the Final Four. But he had a great run with Coach Calipari down there in the old Memphis University. Of course, who would have thunk it, Lakina, that he would get drafted by the Chicago Bulls? And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that coming. No one saw that coming. It was a dream come true for him and his family. Of course, during his rookie year, he won Rookie of the Year. Of course, the next year, he was an All-Star. And, of course, the following year, his MVP year in 2010/11, he was an All-Star starter, and he won the NBA regular season MVP, becoming the youngest player to win an MVP award, beating out LeBron James. Remember, that was the first year in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, the first year in Miami for the Big Three with LeBron James. I know Rose was criticized at the time of not recruiting LeBron James to come to Chicago. If you know the real story behind that, it was really closer. Derrick Rose wasn't really involved with the recruiting process, but that's a whole nother issue, a whole nother show. But remember, at the media day prior to start of that season, he said, "Why not me becoming the best player in the league? Why not me winning MVP?" And Chicago rallied behind that, and so the Bulls, remember, had a great regular season, beat the Miami Heat in Game One of the Eastern Conference Finals. Here, shout out Taj Gibson with that dunk over Chicago's
Mm-hmm.
way. But after that, the Bulls were outmatched by the Miami Heat. But you thought that championship number 7 was coming. Of course, the next year he started to get banged up a little bit, but was healthy enough to play in the playoffs against Philadelphia. Of course, Game 1. And it's still going to be an eternal debate forever whether people like it or not. Tom Thibodeau left him in there with a minute and a half to go. The Bulls were up by double digits, and he tore his
Mm-hmm.
ACL. And boom goes the dynamite, as Time Water would say. And then, of course, he was never the same again. And, of course, he played the 2014-15 season, and that's when they got Paul Gasol. You saw the ascension of Jimmy Butler. And, of course, they lose to LeBron James again, but this time he was in the Cleveland Cavaliers uniform. And that was the end of the Derrick Rose reign. But the times I look at him, Lakina, on the court, there was no one better than him during
Mm-hmm.
that time. Of course, you had him, Joakim Noah, Carlos Boozer, given his deficiencies defensively, especially. That was a very hard-nosed, greedy team led by Tom Thibodeau, their head coach, and we all know what happened with him, especially those years when Rose was out. Did he do his best work? Yes, but here's the thing: the what ifs will always hang over that era of Bulls basketball. What if Derrick Rose didn't get hurt? Well, we had a championship. I believe in that 2012 season, the Bulls would have if he didn't injured his ACL against Philadelphia, because the Miami Heat was still figuring things out at that time, even though they were starting to get it together toward the end of that regular season. The Bulls, I think, would have been motivated by losing to them in the conference finals the year before. They would have been motivated. They would have met up in the playoffs with Derrick Rose healthy. but unfortunately, we'll never get a chance to see that. Of course, he was traded to the Knicks. He got homesick, and there was other problems going on, and then he scored a 50-point game against with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then of course went back to the Knicks. Was part of their resurgence before they got Jalen Brunson. He played for the Pistons as well. So overall, salute Mr. Rose, hometown guy, great career, came from nothing, made something out of himself, made him and his family proud. He made the whole city proud as well.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago with Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown with you. And I think, the fact that when he got injured, knowing that he wasn't really 100%, the Bulls were already up big in that playoff game against Philly. That's going to be the point of contention for a lot of, Bulls fans. Yes, there are some Bulls fans who wish, Coach Tibbs was back here, but that moment, is still going to resonate with folks, not in a good way. So I think that was, could they have won the title? Maybe, but I just think that, I think definitely could have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals. I feel like that year, had he not, probably could have went to the NBA Finals too. Maybe that next year, when they brought in Gasol and Butler and all that. But it is what it is, unfortunately. And I think as far as D Rose, of course, I remember hearing about him when he was in high school, and I heard about it from our buddy Sean, M. Davis, of course, host of Lucky Lefty podcast. And there was some because he is a big follower of high school basketball too, and he had some friends who were kind of like going around saying, oh, this guy, you got to check out this young kid. His name is D Rose. He's from Southside. Blah blah blah. And of course he was at Simeon, and of course they went on to go to go back to back championships. There of course that 1 year he did in Memphis, and well, whether or not that would have happened, and again, that probably would not have, whatever, but well. But, it's sort of one of those things where he had a consistent career throughout. He actually played, still was a solid role player even after his injury. So I think that really helps in that respect. And as far as him being a Hall of Famer, I mean, he might be, he might be one of those guys that you might have to wait a few years, because people forget it is not the NBA Hall of Fame, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, meaning your whole entire basketball career. So I think those back-to-back state titles, I think, will help him. Yes, the Memphis, however you guys feel about that team and what happened after that, whatever. But, he had a good 16-year NBA career. A lot of players can say that. So I think that'll help. He may have to wait. He's not going to be like a first ballot like Vince Carter is, who's going to be going in a few weeks. It's not going to be that instance, but I think he will get in eventually. I think I think there's only like full Bulls players have their jerseys retired. So I think he will probably get his jersey retired. They're probably going to think about time and place or whatever. So I think he should get his jersey, a jersey retirement ceremony. But I think he's one of those players that, look, he did his thing. Do you wish he could have done more? Absolutely. But for what he did that short time he was here, and for what he did, I think he should definitely be commended and should definitely be celebrated and get his flowers.
Yeah, I'll answer the Hall of Fame question that I promised a few moments ago. I think it's a borderline Hall of Fame, and like you said, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, which counts for everything. So I think because of what he did in high school and for that 1 year in college, helping bringing Memphis Tigers to the Final Four, he will get in on top of what he did, especially as a member of the Chicago Bulls. A couple other stories before we close out this segment. I was in Vegas with the family friend and my late mother. This would have been 12 years ago, the year that Rose got hurt, and we brought up. We were talking to one of the bell attendants checking out of a hotel in Vegas, and we started talking about Bulls basketball. And we were talking about, yeah, we were from Chicago, Michael Jordan, blah, blah, blah. And then the name Derrick Rose was brought up by my family friend who still lives with me, lives in my building with me. And the bellboy said, yeah, I knew that kid Derrick Rose was going to do it, blah, blah, blah. That guy is just incredible. And I was watching that documentary, Pool, that was produced by Stadium a few years ago. You can watch it here on YouTube. Just type it in your search engine boxes on YouTube, the Derrick Rose documentary. I watched it again yesterday. Very good documentary. But one of the bell attendants said, yeah, I knew that kid was going to do it as soon as I saw him in Memphis, blah, blah, blah. And I said to myself, the last time that, because remember, Derrick Rose was homegrown, and we watched him grow up here in Chicago from high school and on. He's our version of LeBron James. He just didn't get the national attention in high school like LeBron did. So he's our version of LeBron James. Most of the people outside Chicago saw him in Memphis. Like I said, his games his high school games were not televised nationally like LeBron James's were. It was just televised locally. But Derrick Rose, if you heard of him outside Chicago, if you're really into it, you didn't hear about him until you went to Memphis. And when me and my late mother and the family friend traveled to Vegas, we brought up Derrick Rose. Lakina, you would have thought that they were talking about Michael Jordan. I never heard this much hype about the Bulls since Michael Jordan. Not saying Derrick Rose is better than Michael Jordan. I'm not saying that, but the attention outside Chicago about the Bulls franchise hasn't been at that height since Derrick Rose, since Michael Jordan. And so, you brought up the name Derrick Rose at that time. People were excited. People were excited to watch Bulls basketball, and they were starting to grab their attention nationally. And yes, that heartbreaking first round loss in 2009 to the Boston Celtics did help that. But Derrick Rose brought the Bulls franchise back to prominence. It's just that, like you said, the what ifs will be hanging. It's still a cloud that's hanging over this franchise forever. And unfortunately, it's part of the story that it's not going to go away.
Nah.
But Derrick Rose still had a great career. And when he gets his induction to the Hall of Fame, I'll be cheering just like everybody else.
Yeah, and then he'll definitely be getting his flowers, I believe. Like I said, he might have waited a few years, like I said, this is not like Vince Carter or somebody like that was first bound. I mean, I think Vince Carter still holds I think his still records in high school still holds. It's been like 25 years or just under 25 years since he was in high school. So yeah, I mean, I think he'll definitely get his flowers about Derrick Rose. I should say he's going to get in about next month. But yeah, I think Derrick Rose is one of those players where I mean, yeah, you get stuck in the what is, but look, you know what? For the time he did play, for a time that he was healthy for a short time, here in Chicago, I think people still talk about it to this day. I mean, we saw our buddies from CHGO. If you saw them last night, with Will Purdue is going to be part of their team this year. They're still raving about it. So yeah, it's still, and they're only younger than us, so they're around that time when D Rose sort of becoming like the cult figure in Chicago. So he definitely deserves all the recognition he deserves now. Hopefully, when he does get his jersey retired, and like his oldest son PJ, he's already making waves in the basketball court as well. So we might be seeing PJ's name in about it is in a few years.
Yeah, it's in the genes already. So get ready.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, and of course, we'll talk some college football is going to week 5. So great matches coming up, but could Hurricane Helene be a factor in some of these games? Then a whole lot more. Like Keenan McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. We go to the gridiron on the college side coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports, the last one for the month of September. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. Lakina McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, the IG.
We have about 80 minutes left of this extravaganza we call the Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we preview week 5 of the biggest matchups in the world of college football, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Week 5 of college football commences actually starting tonight because Miami has a tough matchup against Virginia Tech. That'll be on ESPN, so that should be a fun matchup there. And we have a Big Ten battle between Washington and Rutgers at the same time. Well, actually about a half hour at 7 o'clock on the big Fox network. So yeah, yes, I said Big Ten matchup, folks. Welcome to college football in 2024, folks. But I digress. Going into this tomorrow matchups, Ole Miss and Kentucky. That should be a fun one at 11 a.m. on ABC. The big noon Saturday game as Minnesota faces Michigan. Michigan coming off that great win against USC, while Minnesota just lost a tough one against Iowa. So that should be a fun one over there in Ann Arbor. And a good matchup here in the Big 12. We got Oklahoma State and Kansas State on ESPN.
I want to go back to the Minnesota-Michigan matchup and just for a second here. I know Michigan's favored by 10.5 at home. I think Minnesota can hang in there because Michigan, even though they barely beat USC last week, they're still trying to figure things out offensively. Minnesota, you mentioned last week, it was a tale of two halves at Iowa at home. They lost the big one at home, but I'm looking at their quarterback Max Brosmer for the Golden Gophers. 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions so far this year. He has to take care of the football, and Minnesota's going to have to run the football as well. I know that Michigan front line is still very good, but I think you can keep them on their heels. PJ Fleck and crew, they got to have almost a near good perfect performance to beat Michigan. I know they're not the same team as they were when they won it all last year, but I think Michigan can be had here, and Minnesota plays damn near perfect football, but it's still going to be tough. I think Minnesota does keep this close, though.
Yeah, Darryl Taylor's going to have to be a big factor for the Minnesota squad against Michigan. The Oklahoma K-State game, I mean, look, if you want to take the over, look, that's fine. I think it's going to be whoever has the ball last wins.
The total points. Yeah, the total points for that game is 57.5.
Yeah, I would say take the over on that. BYU.
Okay, ding, ding, ding.
Oh, yeah, number 22 BYU against Baylor on FS1. We'll see if Baylor can get that taste out of their mouth from that bad loss to Colorado. Yes, I said it, Baylor fans. Sorry. Nebraska hoping to bounce back from that loss against Illinois at home. Let them up. Well, look, I mean, playing Purdue could be the thing that will cure whatever ails them. So that'll be streamed on Peacock. So, there you guys go there. So hopefully all your Cornhusker fans could take it out on poor Purdue. So we'll see what happens. The CBS game of the week, you got USC hosting, hoping to bounce back from that loss, and Michigan hoping to bounce back against Wisconsin. And it's interesting because Wisconsin, of course, you got Luke Fickell and that squad. Wisconsin had that struggles this year. If they can protect the ball, maybe they can force USC to kind of, force the defense, wear their defense out. And that might be the key to keeping them in it at least.
Yeah. Shout out to locally here in Chicago, Channel 9 tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. The Northern Illinois Huskies look to get back on track as they'll travel to Raleigh, North Carolina to take on the NC State Wolfpack. Of course, NC State is 2-2 on the year. Northern Illinois is 2-1. They lost a heartbreak. I'm talking about the Huskies last week in overtime to the University of Buffalo. Lakina, it's a tough task as the NIU Huskies go back on the road, but NC State is 7.5-point favorites. So I am shocked here, but I think Northern Illinois is going to give them a game right here. Can they pull off another upset on the road like they did a few weeks ago at Notre Dame. I don't know, but I think they'll keep this close.
Yeah, hopefully the runs from Hurricane Helene, doesn't affect the game too much. 'Cause I know that
Hmm.
Northern's been having trouble getting there. I know travel's a little bit iffy at the moment, so hopefully can get there sometime before the night's over with it. But maybe they're there already. Well, who knows? But of course, the USC Wisconsin game will be at 2:30, and of course, the Northern Illinois North Carolina State game will be on the CW network on Channel 9, of course, here in Chicago. And a good one here. Too bad our girl Christine Mack isn't with us today because I know she's gonna have her eye on this one. On this, we're streaming on Peacock only, so it won't be on NBC. You got Notre Dame hosting, number 16 Notre Dame hosting number 15 Louisville. That should be a fun one over there in South Bend.
Yeah, didn't the Cardinal beat Notre Dame last year in the state of Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep, they did.
All right, so the the Louisville Cardinals still has the edge. I know Notre Dame has that one loss on the year. That was to NIU, as I mentioned earlier. For Notre Dame, you have to look out for that big-time running back, Jeremiah Love. He has 4 rushing touchdowns on the year, over 339 rushing yards. But on the flip side for Louisville, Ja'Cory Brooks has only 2 receiving touchdowns, but he has close to 300 receiving yards for the year. He's a big target guy for the Louisville Cardinal. I expect him to have a big game, but Lakina, I think that Notre Dame is finally starting to get back on track. I know they had 2 blowout wins over the last couple of weeks. They're going back home. They know what happened a couple of weeks ago against 3 weeks ago rather against NIU. I'm not going to say they're going to dominate Louisville, but I can see them pulling away late, winning by 10 to 14 points in the fourth quarter.
This is a good, really good Louisville squad. Their defense is really solid. Tyler Slow, who I know Big Ten fans knew because he played for Wisconsin for a couple of years, but he's one of those guys that really makes mistakes. He can run the ball and he can throw it. He doesn't have any interceptions this year. You got to put the pressure on him. That old line is actually really good for Louisville. So this might be the best team Notre Dame has played in the last few weeks. So, look, Louisville's not going to be, Jeff Ronald will have his Louisville guys ready. Of course, he coached at Purdue, so he's very familiar with Notre Dame. So they're not going to be scared. So, yeah, but a little surprised this is not going to be on NBC. But look, if we got Peacock, this should be an entertaining one down there and over there in South Bend. Oklahoma and Auburn at 2:30 on ABC. Also stream on ESPN Plus. You got Arkansas against number 24 Texas A&M on ESPN. That's also at 2:30. TCU and Kansas will be on ESPN Plus. You got Colorado and UCF at 2:30 on Fox. So this is a Big 12 matchup. UCF is at the Big 12 now. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know they've had some injuries. Talk about Colorado. UCF has a really solid squad. I know that place is going to be rocking down there in Central Florida. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit better. But they're 3-0. I'm talking about UCF is. So yeah, I'm this is going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, I know UCF is favored by 2 touchdowns, 14 points for those of you scoring at home. Colorado, a nice comeback in their win last week against Baylor at home. Like you said, Lakina, Baylor gave that one away if you want to be 100 about it. But for Colorado, they got to clean up the silly penalties, find a consistent running game, and find a way to protect Shedeur Sanders with a little bit better consistency. On the year, he has 11 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He needs to have a big game, but the offensive line is going to do a much better job. You talk about Travis Hunter already, close to 500 yards receiving for the year and 5 receiving touchdowns. But for UCF on the flip side, watch out for that star running back, R.J. Harvey, 59 carries for 448 yards and 8 touchdowns so far this year.
Yeah, he's been really solid. And, of course, KJ Jefferson, of course, all you SEC fans know who he is. Of course, a veteran over at Arkansas, transferred to UCF. He's been playing very well for them. One of the reasons why UCF is undefeated at this point. So I think for me, if you guys, the defense, the Buffalo defense got to slow them down, and that's going to be the real key here. And we know defense has been okay. They made some big plays when they need to, but they need to do it more consistently. So they're up against a very veteran. I think most of the guys in that UCF offense is most of them are like a 4th or 5th year. And I think the couple of O-line are like 6-year guys too. So they're going to be facing some veterans. So you're not going to get them to shake. So should be a fun one down there. Like I said, hopefully the hurricane has passed, and hopefully folks can clean up there. And of course, our thoughts prayers go out to the folks down there in the southeast. For people who are affected by Hurricane Lee, get the hell out of there too if you can. Fresno State and UNLV on FS1. I mean, I'm laughing because Jesus. if you've been following this news for the last last week, this is Jesus. I'm just flabbergasted here. Okay. Okay, okay, I'll give you guys a clue. Matthew Sluka, who is one of the top passing, I think he has like a top 5 in the pass rating in FBS. He decided he's going to redshirt and stop playing because he didn't get all the money that he needed in his NIL. And apparently, I guess the starting running back, I think one of the running backs there, I think one of the wide receivers is also doing the same thing. So, welcome to college football in 2024. And unfortunately, and it was important because UNLV's been playing very well. They upset Kansas. And, now everything's kind of in the upheaval down there in Vegas.
Well, this is what happens when you bring quote-unquote free agency into college sports. This is what happens. So I'm with the players on this one. Give me my money or I will not play. So both those guys pulled the LeBron James hotel, get my talent somewhere else. Until you do right by me, you ain't getting another ounce of talent from me. Damn it. That's how that went down. So, but like you said, welcome to college sports 2024. As we said, when this happened a couple of years ago, this was started end up happening. Don't be surprised if one of both those players decide to transfer. It's their right. So if that happens, don't say that we didn't tell you so. But those are the rules, and that's what they can allowed to do.
Get everything in writing, folks. So that's all I gotta say. All you, not just college football, but basketball, soccer, volleyball, hockey players, track field. Look, get everything in writing. Get all those NIL deals in writing, please. So hopefully you'll avoid all that. We wish him the best here. We're talking about Slaka, but going back to the schedule, 3:00. No, this is not a basketball matchup. Like at North Carolina and Duke. North Carolina hoping to bounce back from the tough loss against James Madison. SEC Network, you got Texas and Mississippi State at 3:15.
Texas favored by 37.5.
I think you really don't need to have Quinn Ewers back. Just let Archman get some experience. So that should be an easy time for Texas there. Should be a good one here over in East Lansing. I know our buddy Ryan Field from ABC 7 New York is going to be keep an eye on this one. You got Michigan State and Ohio as they host Ohio State. That's going to be at 6:00 on Peacock.
Yeah, Michigan State out to a surprising 3-1 start, 1-0 in the Big Ten. Ohio State, one of the top teams in the country, ranked number 3 right now. They're also checking it at 3-0. But for Michigan State, their quarterback Aiden Childs, 4 touchdowns, passes on the year, but 7 interceptions. Even though this is a home game for Michigan State, they need to keep the turnovers down. They need to run the football, in my opinion, because Ohio State are one of those teams that you make a couple of mistakes that they're going to make you pay for it. And on the flip side for Ohio State, their star wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, 14 catches, 281 yards, and 4 touchdowns so far this year.
Yeah, really solid showing there. There is a young man from Michigan State. His name is Amarion Smith. His mom passed away earlier this week from breast cancer. He's actually raising his 4 siblings. And the courts gave him custody of his 4 siblings. I know the community there has been very rallying around them and being very helpful. I think a couple of one of the coaches' wives actually put them all up in in housing, so they could all stay together and go to school and stuff like that. So very nice showing there by the community down there in East Lansing. So a really sweet moment there. Maybe they'll play some expiring. Hopefully they'll keep it close against Ohio State tomorrow night. Clemson and Stanford on ESPN. Clemson hosted Stanford. This is an ACC matchup, folks. Yeah, well, hopefully
Stanford and the ACC. I still got to get used to that.
Yeah, and Cal too. So this is all weirdness. But hopefully the weather will be all cleared up because Mark Jones is going to be doing the game for ESPN. Apparently the power is out down there in South Carolina. So so hopefully they can get that together before the game starts. So it's getting a little bit crazy down there. But hopefully everyone's safe and such. There's a Big 12 matchup now on FS1 at 6:00. Iowa State and Houston. That should be a fun one down there in Houston.
Yeah, continue with our prime time schedule. Also, we'll go to the 6:30 games. And we'll start out locally, Lakina. Here comes Saturday night. Excuse my bad singing voice. Number 19, the Final Line night. They will travel to Beaver Stadium out there in the East Coast and University Park, Pennsylvania. They'll face the number 9 ranked team in the nation, the Penn State Nittany Lions. I know Penn State is favored by almost 20 points, 19.5 of those you scoring at home. as I told you on Monday, Lakina, uh, this Illinois team that could be better than the one 2 years ago, which shocked everybody. I know you also said on Monday that Penn State is a beast, and we know they're one of the top 5 teams in the country. But I get it. Maybe this is just me, and it's okay. But I think Illinois can keep this close. Luke Altmaier, the quarterback for Illinois, I know he had that one fumble early in that fourth quarter last week at at Nebraska, but that did not come out to bite him in the butt. He needs to have 0 turnovers, play efficient football in the final line. I need to run the football to keep that offense of Penn State off the field, because that Penn State offense is sweet, and their defense is no joke either. Like I said, Illinois, they need to run the ball, but you got to wear out that Nittany Lions defense because they can bring it in fast.
Well, remember a couple of years ago they had a 9 overtime thriller. The Illinois won at Beaver Stadium, so I'm sure Penn State fans remember that. I know James Franklin does remember that as well. So they're going to want their revenge. And I think Penn State, no one was really talking about them, and I think Coach Franklin likes it that way. No one's really talking about Penn State. They're talking about Ohio State or Oregon, and then Michigan with the upset against SC, but. They are. Look, I mean, Penn State is a juggernaut. I mean, the defense for Penn State, we know the black shirts, down there. This is going to be the toughest defense Luke Altmaier will be facing all year. So that's going to be the big test area. Drew Allar, who is just learning as he goes. It's going to be this is his first full year starting. He's getting comfortable. That Illinois defense is actually pretty solid too. So yeah, I mean, look, does Illinois have a shot? Yeah, of course. I mean, look, I think you can't really take Illinois lightly, and I think they know that. They're going to have to, if they want to get into the playoffs, talking about Penn State, they're going to have to beat Illinois. They can't really rest on their laurels, and I think they know that. So, it should be a fun one. Tomorrow night on NBC, this should be a fun matchup there as well. Let's see. Florida State, they got their, but we'll see they're back on track against SMU on the ACC network. Cincinnati at Texas Tech will be on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock. Okay, Boise State against Wazoo. That this is a Pac-12 matchup. Well, no, not Pac-12, but this is like a conference matchup on FS1. Arizona and Utah in the Big 12. That should be a good one at 9:15 on ESPN. Yeah, I know all this weirdness here. Oregon and UCLA. The last but not least, and this is a Big 10 matchup, folks. This will be at 10 o'clock on the Big Fox Network. All this conference stuff is giving my head spinning. And we also news that Northern Illinois might be going to the Mountain West. It's just getting a little bit too weird here.
Yeah, the Pac-12 is trying to regroup again, and you said, Northern Illinois is trying to go to the Mountain West. This is crazy, folks, and I'll leave that alone. But you forgot one big primetime game on ABC tomorrow night. At 6:30. I think the weather should not be a factor, but we'll see.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Georgia,
Alabama. Alabama will host Georgia tomorrow night from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Of course, Carson Beck, the star quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs, will lead the way. He has 7 touchdown passes on the year. On the flip side for Alabama, Jam Miller has 265 rushing yards on the year with 3 touchdowns, while their star wide receiver Ryan Williams has 10 receptions, 285 yards, and 4 touchdowns so far in this young season.
Yeah, it's going to be 76, and it's going to be nice and sunny. So all that rain that's going to come from Helene, I think, will be gone by then. And this is actually going to be their first in-season matchup, I think, in about 10 or 12 years. So
can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy, but yeah. Look, I mean, it's really good depending on who gets at the pace early. I mean, look, we know their defenses are really good. The battle of the running backs could be a big factor here too. Of course, Trevor Etienne, of course, Travis's younger brother. He's been really solid for Georgia this year. But look, Bama's got their own great running back in Ryan Williams, so it could be who's a true freshman. So it could be a battle of who can set the tone early. I think both teams are going to want to set that tone early, and I think that's going to be the key, or whoever wins this game.
Yeah, and also too, I think it's going to come down to the running games for both of these teams as well. I think Alabama has a slight edge, and also too, as you mentioned, they're playing at home. But whoever comes up with 2 or more turnovers, I think is going to win this game. And Alabama, even though they are still a good team, I still think they're trying to find themselves. Georgia, they've been there before. I know they had some changes too, but I think whoever comes up with 2 or more turnovers is going to win this game.
Caden DeBoer is going to be his first big test as new head coach down there in
Mhm.
Tuscaloosa. So we'll see if he passes the test. But look, Kirby Smart, look, this is his first rodeo, so I think he's going to make sure his guys are ready, and should be a fun one on AB, a big one on ABC. It should get big numbers for them.
Yep. I wanted to go back to one more game real quickly. Kenan, you mentioned, let's see here, Oregon and UCLA tomorrow night late on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing with Oregon. I know they're ranked as one of the top teams in the country. They're ranked number 8 in general. UCLA, Deshaun Foster, former NFL player, former Bruin, now the first-year head coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think, at least according to the spread, Oregon's favored by 25.5 points. I know UCLA is overlooked here. I know they struggled to start the year at 1-2, but I think they're overmatched it. But I kind of get that feeling that UCLA can keep it close early. But here's the thing: they need to play near. I'm talking about UCLA. They need to play damn near perfect football. I don't know that this is going to happen though.
Yeah, I mean, look, they know this rivalry very well. Of course, I know Coach Foster did very well, playing against Oregon. But again, when he played, Oregon was just kind of like up and coming, so he kind of knows how all that with all that going on there. But I know UCLA is still trying to find themselves. Look, they played very close against LSU before they lost. So I'm sure he'll have his guys ready for this game. I think Oregon wants to get a chance to get into that playoff and, of course, gets that Big Ten title game their first year out. So, I think Dan Lane will have his guys ready. I think it'll be close, early, but I think Oregon's got the talent. So I'm not, as long as Dylan Gabriel doesn't make any bad mistakes, I think Oregon will be able to win this thing handily. But again, you never know when these two teams play.
I know we're about to close out hour number 1, but I think this is the first time we're going to say this phrase this year. Do you see any team or teams on upset alert tomorrow or tonight?
Well, do you think Vodtek's got a shot against Miami?
No.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it all depends on the San Antonio. I'm sure Penn State should be on upset alert against Illinois. Let's see. We'll see how Michigan, feels after that big win. We'll see Minnesota. PJ Fleck will have his guys ready. Kentucky might give Ole Miss a run. They may not. I don't know. We'll see what Baylor's mindset is. I USC maybe, but I doubt it. Oklahoma, Auburn. I mean, I don't. I know they're in a new conference, but I don't think Oklahoma should be able to win that one handily. TCU and Kansas. I mean, I know. Look, I know they're at a point where I think they may have to play again. What is basketball season start? I'm sure a lot of KU fans are probably wondering now.
Oh, yeah.
I really don't see anything, but maybe Ohio State against Michigan State. Maybe, I don't know, but I really don't see any big. I mean, maybe Stanford and Clemson. I know Stanford stayed out east, so that way they don't have to. I think they're gonna have to do that, a lot, especially for all their. Especially when basketball season starts, they may have to do like a 2-3 weeks. They're gonna be on the road for that long, but I don't know. I don't see any.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Kansas, TCU, maybe Michigan, Ohio State, maybe, but I just didn't see one that really jumped out at me on the schedule. I just don't.
No, I don't think so either. But yeah, it should be some great matchups as you go into about a third through the season in college football, and that's your schedule for week 5.
Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 just around the corner as you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. When we return, we'll give you the week 4 preview on the National Football League as the Chicago Bears will host the Los Angeles Rams at the Lakefront. Can the Bears get back on track, or do the Rams have another upset up their sleeve? We'll give you some of the other big games to watch around the NFL this weekend. We'll also give you our picks, and we'll get into some baseball as well. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sydney Brown is me. Lakina McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
We have less than 55 minutes left of this extravaganza, or so we call a sports talk radio show, as we hit you with our Bears-Rams preview. If you have any thoughts about the Chicago Bears in the upcoming matchup this Sunday on the lakefront, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's kick off our football power hour. Our NFL power hour, I should say. Talking Bears and Rams. It's going to be over at Soldier. A new game. Weather shouldn't be a factor here. A little bit of a sprinkle, upper 60s. So a nice, a very nice weather going into this matchup. Unfortunately, the play of the Bears hasn't been very nice. And it's interesting because this is one of those games where everybody said, "Oh, all these games are winnable." Well, I guess we didn't learn our lesson from last week against the Colts. Now, it looks like Keenan Allen is questionable. So is Odunze. So we'll see. That old line is really that's really going to be like the thing here. I think the defense will be fine. But they need more consistent play on that defense. And I know, yes, you don't have to worry about Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua, but you still got Kyron Williams, who I think the last time they played, he had like 2 rushing touchdowns against that defense. So this should be one of those games where you gotta set the tone early if you're the Bears. If you don't, go to a hot start, it could be a long afternoon over at Soldier.
Yeah, speaking of that last matchup, Lakina, it was the first Sunday night game of the season, and 3 years ago, the Rams beat the Bears 34-14. Remember, Andy Dalton was the starting quarterback.
Yes.
After that first drive, he did not have a good game, and things went to crap from there on out. Taking a look at the rankings for both teams offensively, the Rams are ranked 20th, while the Bears are ranked third from the bottom, number 30 for those of you scoring at home. Defensively, the Rams are ranked second to last, while the Bears defense are ranked ninth. Shocking. Passing, the Rams are ranked 10th, while the Bears are ranked number 25. And then, of course, in rushing, both these teams cannot rush the ball. Despite the early success of Kyron Williams as a team, the Rams are third from the bottom in the league in rushing, while the Bears are next to dead last.
Oh, no wonder that Fox pulled Tom Brady for this game. I mean, would you look at you? I know he was here in Chicago. He was in Rosemont. I think he an initiative for community stuff. But yeah,
For the Big
I mean,
Ten, yeah.
yeah, for the Big Ten, that should be a fun one too. We'll probably, if we got time, we'll talk about that. But that was really cool seeing that, seeing him here. But yeah, I mean, yeah, would you want, if you're Brady, would you want to call this game? I don't think you do, and it could be one of those. I don't know. Like I said, I always make jokes about the old '80s football where you have 9-6 or 10-6 or 7 or whatever. This could be one of those cases here, but we know Matt Stafford likes playing the Bears. He actually does pretty well against the Bears. So it could be another thing where, like, okay, I don't have, I don't have Akua nor Cooper Kupp, but you do have some guys there that can actually, make plays for the Rams. So I think if you're the Bears defense, you want to try to kind of take advantage and make sure they don't make those plays. So for me, I think this matchup is really going to be the kind of the key here is just to sort of just make sure nothing gets too weird. And look, I know Aaron Donald is not there anymore, but that's still look. I mean, they don't have a lot of big names in that defense. So I'm talking about the Rams, but they're still pretty solid. Sean McVay, has that weird like NFL mind of his. How that brain of his works. So I'm sure he's gonna throw everything he can at the Bears. Like, look, you want a blitz? Okay, I'll show you a blitz. And so, like I said, that youth of that that defense, should say for the Rams, they could be the key here. If you're if you're Caleb Williams, you want to try to take advantage of that.
Yes. Also, too, speaking of the Rams, their weapons offensively, besides Kyrie Williams, their running back, who has 4 rushing touchdowns on the year. He had 2 last week in the upset win over the San Francisco 49ers. Demarcus Robinson and Atwell. I think Atwell is going to be covered by Jalen Johnson. Atwell had a couple of big catches toward the end of that game last week against the 49ers. I think Robinson will be covered by Tyreek Stevenson. Remember, looking, I said Tyreek Stevenson had a bad game a couple of weeks ago. He did. Needs to continue to prove that he's the second best defensive back on the team next to Jalen Johnson. I think the Bears secondary will be tested once again because, like I said, even though Stafford has those young guys that I just mentioned, Stafford has seen everything in terms of defense. And he knows how to pick you apart without putting any pressure on him. So I think the Bears pass rush, even though the Rams still have problems with the offensive line too, it's still going to be a big test for the Bears. But what I'm most worried about with the Bears is the run defense. They haven't proven to stop the run all year. I know statistically it looked like they held Tennessee in check, but Tennessee was running all over them early, especially in that first half. I'm much more worried about the run defense than the pass rush for the Chicago Bears going into this game on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the pass rush they will be fine. I think, but like you said, the Robinson can be dangerous when he gets into a rhythm, and also so can Tutu Atwell. So I think that might be a thing, might be a test there. But I think if you're the Rams, if you want to take advantage of those holes in the rush defense for the Bears, like feed Kyron Williams. So if I were anybody who has Kyron Williams on their fantasy team, I would say, maybe you should make a little switch there. So we'll see. I mean, look, I think, if Keenan Allen does play, again, you don't know how he's going to look. He hasn't played since week 1, so it's going to be a little bit rusty. So I think if you're Caleb Woods, you want to try to take advantage of that secondary or lack thereof with the Rams. So, try to kind of make those plays right away because, like I said, if you can't take advantage of that, like I said, it's going to be a long Sunday over there at Soldier.
You listen to Sports Zone Chicago's Second City Sports. Looking here with you as we preview the Week 4 matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Rams. It'll take place on Lakefront this Sunday at high noon on Fox 32 locally here in Chicago. Lakina, I want to focus in on the Bears offense. I don't know if you heard some of the presser from I believe it was yesterday or Wednesday from Bears offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. I'll paraphrase it here, and he said that he doesn't try not to look too far in the past, but he'll learn from it and move on. The pass hasn't been great for the Chicago Bears, especially running the football. I still believe they need to run the football with some consistency and take pressure off of Caleb Williams. I don't know if you saw Caleb Williams' face. I think we talked about it on the show on Monday that one of the reporters asked him, did you realize that you passed the ball 52 times? And he's like, really? Caleb Williams had his best day as a pro as far as statistically, passing over 363 yards, but you don't want to see that again because the Bears offense needs balance, and that starts with DeAndre Swift. And can we get Khalil Herbert more than 2 touches, please? I like Roshan Johnson, but if Khalil Herbert's still on this roster, can you give him more than 2 touches? I'm just asking a friend, okay? But my point is that the Bears need to run the football with some consistency. Take pressure off Caleb Williams, so all the pressure does not have to get put on him. If Roman Duze plays, still feed him the ball because him and Cable have a good connection there, and still continue to find Cole Kmet, pro type tight end. He had a great game last week. Let's see, you can feed him the ball. He could do some great things. He did that last week at Indianapolis. Let's see if he can do it again against the Rams.
Well, and also too, don't go into slow starts. Like I said, I mean, you can't afford to do. You were able to. The only reason you were able to that game was close because you were facing Anthony Richardson. You're not gonna be able to do it against Matt Stafford. Like you said, he's seen it all. He's heard it all. So you're not gonna get him rattled too much. Like I said, I think he's got a decent record against the Bears. So I think that you're not gonna throw anything at him that he hasn't seen already. Like I know that defense likes to blitz, but you're like, okay, well we'll just give the ball to Williams. So it's one of those days where you kind of it's feast or famine with that Bears defense, and you have to try to force Matt Stafford to make those mistakes, those crucial mistakes, and not let the defense get worn out because let's face it. Anthony Richardson almost wore out that Bears defense last week. So for me, I think it's really going to depend on how you gotta set the tone early with the Bears offense. If they can't set the tone early, then I don't know what to tell you. I know this is supposed to be a winnable part, but look, not all games are winnable in NFL.
Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing I wanted to bring up with you. You mentioned Rams head coach Sean McVay earlier. You don't think that he looked at the last 3 games of the Bears on tape? You saw what Tennessee did. You saw what Houston did 2 weeks ago. You saw what Indianapolis did. Treat Caleb Williams like a rookie quarterback. Blitz him on occasional on first downs, but blitz if it's 3rd and 6 and more. Blitz the hell out of him. You don't think he's not going to try to do that on Sunday? You're crazy.
No, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that matchup, and I'm kind of, I mean, look, you get Adam Amin, Mark Sanchez, and Christina Pink on the call there at Soldier instead of the A team, which for good reason, I think. So should be interesting. I won't be watching that game too much because I think that game's not going to be very good. But the rest of the NFL Week 4 matchups, I think will be good. I'll probably watch this game instead on the computer in the NFC South. You got the Saints and the Falcons. The Saints, of course, we'll see how they bounce back from the tough loss to Philadelphia. And the Falcons, I think, should have won that game against the Chiefs. But again, I digress. So it's really going to be interesting to see what happens there. I know they've had a lot of injuries with the Saints. We'll see if Kamara plays. The Falcons need to kind of get it going on their offense because that's really been the kind of thing that's keeping them from being 2-1 or 3-0 or whatever. So that's going to be one of the games I'm looking forward to. I'll probably watch it instead of the Rams Bears.
Of course, the world's worst kept secret. I have to watch the Bears game, so you don't have to. I'll watch it later via my DVR. At high noon on CBS, this will be airing opposite of the Bears game, even though the Bears game is at home on Fox. CBS will be airing this game here in Chicago. It's the Battle of the North in the NFC North. That is the 3-0 Vikings against the 2-1 Green Bay Packers from Lambeau Field. Jordan Love will not play.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. Like I said, I mean, look, nobody had Minnesota undefeated going into the season, so that's gonna be that should be a fun matchup because we know these two teams play well, and I'm excited. Like we'll see how Malik Willis does against that defense of Minnesota because Brian Flores will want to make mincemeat out of him. So we'll
Yeah.
see what he does there. But yeah, that should be a fun match. I'll be watching that game as well.
A couple of the high noon games to talk about. The New York Jets at 2-1. They won 2 in a row. They'll host the 1-2 Denver Broncos. Excuse me. Now the Broncos won last week at upsetting fashion at Tampa Bay. The Jets dominating the Tennessee Titans. Aaron Rodgers so far 5 touchdowns and an interception this year. The Jets. Some people think they can win the AFC East. I'm not. I had them as a playoff team this year, but I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. But the Jets, I think, can start building some momentum here.
Yeah, I think they can. I think it's sort of set up for them to build that momentum because I think if there is a chance to kind of do that, I think this will be the time to do it. I mean, the Broncos, we'll see. They might still be kind of on cloud nine for beating Tampa Bay. That thanks a lot for nothing, Tampa, for that upset there. But yeah, I think this is sort of one of those times where I think you can sort of get into it, and maybe this might be the Jets chance to go on a run here. Now, another game on Fox that I'll probably be watching. I may have to watch via Red Zone, but the Eagles and the Bucks. This is actually going to be the game that Tom Brady is going to be doing instead of that. Look, I think considering that he won a Super Bowl down there in Tampa. He lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl, so that should be interesting. But yeah, I think if you're Philadelphia, I know you've got some injury issues and such. Tampa, I know they want to get that bad taste of losing the Broncos out of their mouth, so it's really going to depend on who could set the tone early and perhaps maybe even, kind of can Jalen Hurts, recover from that, the offense, with not having a lot of his top guys. And of course, Baker Mayfield, he had his struggles last week against the Broncos. So who's going to be, Buckets can get bounce back, but this should be a fun matchup.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, he's on my fantasy team. I know, get at me, but I don't care. But Jalen Hurts, as I said last week, he needs to cut down on those silly turnovers, especially in the red zone. He did not have a great game last week, despite passing for over 300 yards. Saquon Barkley actually saved the Eagles in that upset win at New Orleans last week. We'll see how Tampa Bay's defense can gear a scheme to stop them.
That should be a fun one there. Now, in the first of the 3 o'clock games, this should be an intriguing one. You got the Commanders and the Cardinals. And, of course, Cliff Kingsbury facing his former team. Of course, Jaden Daniels, of course, they're fresh off the upset win against Cincinnati. You got the Cardinals. You could probably say could be 2-1, perhaps maybe even 3-0 right now. Gonna be interesting to see kind of what happens here in this game. But the battle of the young QBs and battle of the young players, I should say. Of course, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other side for the Cardinals. But this should be an intriguing matchup, I think.
Yeah, the total over on the total is 50.5. So Vegas expects this to be a high scoring game. I think he has the potential to be that way. But for the Cardinals last week, excuse me for picking them in the upset over the Lions. Obviously, that didn't happen. The reason why it didn't happen, as I said on Monday, because they couldn't run the ball with any consistency. You got to help out Kyler Murray, James Conner, anybody else that decides to pound the rock. You got to do so. Help out Kyler Murray because he has weapons around him. As you mentioned, for the Commanders on the flip side, you talk about the Bears getting off to a flying start. The Commanders got off to a flying start against Cincinnati on the road last Monday night. And Brian Robinson Jr. So far has 2 rushing touchdowns on the year. He makes that engine go for that Commanders offense. Jaden Daniels, I think he's going to come back down to earth a little bit, but I think I still expect him to have a pretty good game.
Very entertaining matchup there. Now, of course, the game of the week, the CBS, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wilson will have this matchup. The Chiefs and the Chargers. Now, the Chargers are going to be without a lot of some of their top guys. We know Herbert looks like he's out, and a couple of their other guys are out as well. I think Derwin James got suspended, unfortunately, for this game. The Chiefs, look, you could probably say that it should be 1-2 or 0-3, but again, I digress. And I'm sure, Jim Harbaugh will have his guys ready for this matchup. So, look, we've seen weird things happen, when these two teams play. So, you never know.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins will be the focal point of this Chargers offense. So far, he has 2 rushing touchdowns on the year with over 310 rushing yards. On the flip side for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, he's not playing MVP football. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's lost it, but we kind of saw this script last year where the receivers were dropping the ball, and it was hard for him to get going. He's going to have to step up his game. Rasheed Rice has two of the 5 touchdown passes from Mahomes this year. But watch out for Xavier Worthy. I think he's due for a big breakout performance here.
And with James not being there, you gotta think he might be able to do just that.
Mm-hmm.
The Sunday nighter here, you got the Bills and the Ravens. Now, I think what's interesting here, of course, I think the Bills. I don't think anybody, with all the defections because of salary cap and such. No one thought that the Bills would probably be 3-0 right now, but here we are. You think that maybe the Ravens would be 3-0, or 2-1 at the very least, but they're 1-2. This should be one of those things where I know the defense is you're still trying to figure things out over there in Baltimore, and I know Lamar Jackson said that he hasn't been playing very well this year, neither has the offense. So, but then again, you never know. I mean, look, we might see a breakout game for them. So this should be an interesting one here.
Yeah, Baltimore's at home. You would think that offense will break out. I told you for the last couple of weeks, Baltimore goes to these spells that, when you see the offense get on track, excuse me, can't nobody stop them. But at times, it's like watching their offense. It's like watching paint dry or pulling teeth. They got to find some consistency here.
All right, and of course, for the second week in a row, we got 2 Monday night matchups. To concentrate on the second one in this case, you got the Seahawks and the Lions. Of course, the Seahawks beat the Lions in Detroit last year, so that's going to be. Look, I mean, they know how it works down over there in Detroit, so this should be a fun matchup to say the least.
Yeah, we'll see. Geno Smith, can he break out his struggles so far this year? He has 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. On the flip side for Detroit, David Montgomery with 3 rushing touchdowns on the season. But watch out for the stud wide receivers here on the flip side for Detroit. Ryan St. Brown, he had a good performance last week at Arizona with that win over the Cardinals. And on the flip side for the Seahawks, DK Metcalf, 17 receptions, 2 touchdowns, over 262 receiving yards.
That matchup, I think, will be an interesting one there. So I'll probably be watching that game more than the other game. No shade to the Titans and the Dolphins, but I mean, yeah. So I'm probably not going to be watching too much of that game. That might go the way of, it might be bad QB play, I guess. I don't think Tua is going to play this week, so we'll see what happens with that. I think the 49ers just could be the perfect get-right game for them. After losing to the Rams, so playing the Patriots, I think that might actually help them, get right. I know they're a little banged up right now, but this could be one of those games where you're kind of like, okay, let's reset. Let's prove like we're one of the top teams in the NFC, and just try to hold down the fort until we get our guys back.
Yeah, that 49ers defense should have a bounce back performance after being dominating in that second half in that loss over the Rams. Juwan Jennings had a big game last week. We'll see if he can keep it up there. Brock Purdy looked great last week. Let's see if he can keep it up there.
All right. Bengals and Panthers. I mean, look, you thought this was going to be an easy win for the Panthers like a couple weeks ago. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case here.
Yeah, the Bengals got shot at home last Monday night against the Washington Commanders. This season is really staring them down the barrel of a gun. Joe Burrow, I know he has 5 touchdown passes on the year, but it seems to me he's not totally healthy. On the flip side for the Panthers, you mentioned they had that upset win at Las Vegas last week against the Raiders. Andy Dalton looks like a capable quarterback. I know the Panthers are back at home, but you would think that Cincinnati will start to get back on track here, and Jamar Chase will have a breakout game. And for Cincinnati, I've been saying this all year. I'll say it here. They need to find some consistency with that running game.
Definitely, and the injuries are definitely, we'll see if they can kind of get it going there. Now, going to the AFC South, you got the Jags, the 0-3 Jags, and I guess the 2-1 Texans. I'm sure the Texans are not going to be in a good mood after losing got their butts handed to them by Minnesota. The Jags, I mean, I think you got to want one of those crossroad games for them, because it's going to be a lot of people. No one thought that they would be 0-4 going into this game, but it's kind of like it's basically, I don't know what you can say about this one. I mean, I know people are wondering, should Doug Peterson, perhaps maybe get the boot, and some people say maybe even pull Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if I think they're kind of like the least of the team's problems. I think the consistency of everything else, and plus you're gonna have the Texans team that's not gonna be very happy. So yeah, I know Nico Collins is banged up, so we'll see if he plays. I know he's got an ankle sprain, so we'll see if he plays Sunday. But this could be one of those matches where, like, look, this could be a kind of a crossroads game, like I said, for the Jags, because if they go 0-4, heads will roll down there in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence is benching Trevor Lawrence is not going to do anything for the Jaguars. Matt Jones is behind him. He's not going to do any better. That's why he's not in New England as a starter anymore. But I want to focus in on the Texans here. Joe Mixon, of course, he's injured right now. If he can't go on Sunday, Cam Akers will take his place. You mentioned about Nico Collins, but I want to see C.J. Stroud have a bounce back game, get that connection or a reconnection with Stephon Diggs. And also, too, let's not forget about Tank Dell. He's been MIA for the last couple of weeks, so he needs to have a big game as well.
Definitely could be a breakout game for him, too. So should be fun in the AFC South matchup here. Now, of course, we'll take a really quick break. Of course, we'll do our picks. We got our girl, Christine Manford kicks, our Bees picks as well. Also, we're going to do our the radio-a-thon, of course, as well. We'll get that going up there, get the information up as well. So we'll get the number up and whatnot. So, Keenan McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. We got more our NFL picks and a lot more other stuff, great stuff coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition, the last one of the month of September. We are live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. Lakina McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So, you have any last minute questions or comments as we roll into our Week 4 NFL Pick segment? You can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Of course, you can see the number at the bottom there. Our girl, character-based Christine Macca is that time of year. She's doing a radiothon for a radio station. This is to benefit pediatric kids cancer. So, of course, if you want to donate, the number's right there on the screen. 605-328-5750. 605-328-5750. So if you want to get a chance to just donate a little bit of something, if it's just $1 or something like that, it can go a long way and to help fight pediatric cancer or any cancer in general, but in this case here.
Yes, support the kids, please.
Absolutely. So we'll have that number up for the rest of the show as we go into our NFL Week 4 pick'ems. Okay. Look, Sid had 5. Christine and I both have 6. Christine is up 2 on Sid. I'm like, bring up the rear as usual with these things. So, but yeah, well, like I said, still early this season, so we could definitely make some hay here. This NFC South match that I'll be probably watching instead of the Rams and Bears, the Saints and the Falcons. Sid, you start this one, please.
The Falcons are 2.5-point favorites at home. Both teams are coming off embarrassing losses last week. Until I see some consistency in the Falcons, Kirk Cousins, Trent Dilfer 2.0, I'm going with New Orleans.
I'm also going with New Orleans after what happened, especially after what happened last week. When they should have won that game. I said what I said. Sorry, all you Chiefs fans that likes to yell at me for not kissing the ground that your team walks on. But yeah, they should have lost that game, and I said what I said. So yeah, I'm picking New Orleans as well. I know that they're banged up too. I know Taysom Hill, but he's gonna play. Kamara will play should play as well. I know he's questionable, I should say. But yeah, I think New Orleans should do just fine, and we'll see what happens. It should be a fun one. And Christine also has New Orleans, so that should be an interesting matchup down there in Atlanta. Of course, we talked about this earlier, a desperate Cincy team against a Panthers team that now all of a sudden looks, you're making a change at QB. It's like they're world beaters. Eddie Dalton makes them kind of confident, as they say. So it's a short week. They're traveling. I'm talking about Cincy, and I just don't trust the Cincy team. I don't. Their offense might be able to get together, but their defense is still a question mark for me. And sure, why not? I'm picking Carolina. So is Christine. She also is picking Carolina.
I'm going opposite here. I'm picking Cincinnati. Yeah, the pressure is still on you to get your first win of the year. Your 4.5-point favorites, Joe Burrow. They usually start out slow, but they usually come on around this time of year. As I said before, I'll say it again. I'm focusing on the Cincinnati's running game. Chase Brown and anybody else who decides to run the ball, you got to run the ball hard. The Carolina Panthers defense there is not that great. And so if they can run the ball early and talk about Cincinnati and take that pressure off of Burrow, they can do it. So I'm going with Cincinnati here.
All right, and again, the game that'll be going on opposite Rams and Bears. So if you watch this game instead, I think no one will blame you. We don't blame you. Vikings and Panthers in the NFC North. Sid, you start this one.
As I mentioned earlier, this game will be airing locally here in Chicago on CBS opposite the Bears game. Packers 2-1. Vikings 3-0. Jordan Love will not play, so Malik, what you talking about? Willis will get the start for the Packers. Green Bay is a 3-point favorite at home. I know the logical pick is Minnesota here since they started off hot, but I sense something weird in the air. I'm going with the Packers here. They're going to run the ball and try to test that defense of Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator of the Vikings. So I think Sam Darnold is going to come back down to earth. The Packers defense is not bad. They're better than they were a year ago. You saw that last week against inferior Titans team on the road. I'm going with Green Bay here at home.
Yeah, I think this should be one of those. Whoever has the ball last will probably win this one. Because I think, I feel like I think the Packers defense has been really good, but Minnesota's good too. They can blitz you like crazy. And when we talked about the stats and such, I think this is going to depend on which defense can get that, make that big play late, especially. So I think it'll be a close game. It's going to be back and forth, but I think Minnesota will do just enough to win, just because I think they're a little bit of a slightly better squad right now. And but yeah, you never know. Look, well, but if Green Bay wins, I'm not going to be surprised. Christine feels the same way. She's also picking Minnesota, but it should be a fun one up there at Lambeau Field. But yeah, I'll say it should be a fun one up there, as usual between these two teams. Now, the Jaguars and the Texans in the AFC South. I know Jacksonville's desperate. I know that they should be able to pull a bit of a fight. But like I said, Houston's not going to be in a good mood. They still lost to at Minnesota. So I think, CJ Stroud will do just enough to win. I think that defense will step up late. And yeah, it's going to be a long season for Jacksonville. I'm picking Houston.
Houston here.
And Christine also picks Houston. So yeah, we're going through these picks really quick. So definitely love it. Now, of course, you could probably say this is going to be an intriguing matchup here. You got the Steelers and the Colts.
Steelers still undefeated on the year at 3-0. The Colts got out the schneid with a win over Chicago last week at home. Justin Fields is still the starter for the Steelers. For those of you that like that, Anthony Richardson did not play well last week. They were benefited by Jonathan Taylor and the rest of the running crew for the Colts. Pittsburgh's the 2.5-point favorite. The Steelers are the play here. I'm going with Pittsburgh on the road.
And I believe our buddy Spiro Diaz will have the call of this game on CBS. I got to double check. I'll double check that. But yeah, I think he and Adam Marchlet and Adita Kumbawala. See, I finally got her name right. Yay. Yeah, I well, small victories, kids. I'm a small victories kind of person, so I'll take it. But yeah, they're going to have this game, and it should be an interesting one here. But I mean, like you said, Sid, well, they should have beaten the Bears handily. Let's be real here. But I think Pittsburgh, Fields has been very flashy this year. I think he only has like 2 or 3 touchdown passes so far this year. And look, he's one of those guys where, just keep everything on track, keep the rig on the road until whenever Russell Wilson's able to come back. So I think for me, that's going to be the key here. So I'm also taking Pittsburgh. So and yes, it is our buddy Sprotius. We'll have the call of this game. So but like I said, yeah. So I'm definitely going to be supporting them watching this one. But yeah, I'm also picking Pittsburgh. And let me see. Yeah, Christy also has Pittsburgh. So we're soldiering on here. But yeah, watch. Watch Anthony Richardson throw like 4 touchdowns and end up winning. The Colts end up winning it. So we don't look just our luck, but
right.
Staying out east here, you got the Broncos and the Jets. I know that the Broncos, I think they caught Tampa Bay off guard last week, and Bo Nix didn't make any mistakes, during that game. Cortland has been really good for them. The defense has been okay. But I think if you're the Jets, this is the perfect time for the Jets to kind of get it going here and go on a little bit of a run, because their schedule after this doesn't get as they get a couple of weeks of easy ones, as they say. So I think the Jets here.
The Jets have a better defense. They have the better quarterback. They have the better overall offensive talent. So I'm going with the Jets here. The Jets are favored by 7.5 points at home.
And our girl Chrissy also has the Jets. So home game for them. Yeah, that's what she said. So that should be an interesting one there. So yeah, so far so good here. We agreed on the last couple of picks. I wonder if we're going to be decision here. Eagles and the Bucks. Sid, you start this one as I try to catch up and writing these picks down.
Philadelphia is favored by 2 points on the road. We talked about it early with Tampa Bay being upset at home last week against Denver. The Eagles got away with one last week in New Orleans if it wasn't for Saquon Barkley. Until I see some consistency with Jalen Hurts, especially in the red zone, I do not trust him, despite him throwing for over 300 yards last week. I'm going with Tampa Bay here. This is going to be an ugly, close game. I think Baker Mayfield is going to play much better. And Tampa Bay is going to have to find someone to run the ball, especially with the Rashard White not having a good year. But the Bucs going to have to run the football, and I think they can force a turnover or 2 on Jalen Hurts. So I'm going with Tampa Bay here at home.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I've been back and forth on this one, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if Devontae Smith's gonna be able to play for the Eagles. Dallas Goedert basically and Saquon Barkley basically saved the Eagles' bacon last year. No pun intended. I might regret this later, but I'm picking the Bucks as well since they're at home. But Christine has the she also is anybody's game, and she has Philadelphia. Look, I would be surprised if Philadelphia pulls it out. I mean, like I said, I mean they really had to get it out of their skis against I guess the Saints last week. So I'm thinking, yeah, it could be anybody's game. This definitely isn't one of those toss up games of the week, but should be a fun one. I'll be watching that one too, nonetheless. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Keenan McGee, Steve Brown with you as we do our NFL Week 4 picks. As we go into the first of the 3 o'clock games, we got the Commanders and the Cardinals. Now, again, I've been back and forth on this one. Cliff Kingsbury going back to Arizona, facing his former team. You got Jaden Daniels. You got Marvin Harrison, of course, Kyler Murray. It's really going to be dependent on the defense here. Terry McLaurin, this and that. Gosh, this is another tough one, but I'm picking the Commanders because I think they're just a slightly better. I'm not saying they're both these guys are these two world beaters, but I think this might be a good way to kind of like get it going here. So I'm picking the Commanders.
The Commanders could be one of those surprise teams in the NFL for this season. I know they won big on the road on last Monday night against the Bengals, but they're on the road again on a short work week. The Cardinals didn't look that great against the Detroit Lions last week, but I think they bounce back and they'll have a better performance. So I'm going with the Cardinals here. Arizona's favored by 3.5 at home.
You're gonna keep picking the Cardinals till you're blue in the face, aren't you, Sid?
They got one for me at some point.
Well, yeah, I will say. Well, yeah, and Christine actually also has Commanders too. So, look, this is actually another one of those games where it could be anybody. So it'll be interesting to see what happens down there.
We're definitely gonna see some points scored in this one.
Absolutely. Next up, you got Patriots in San Francisco. Look, I know San Francisco's banged up. I know CMC like he's not going to play. Debo saying is out again for another few weeks. Kittle, I think, did practice, so he should be good to go. But even still, with them being shorthanded, that New England squad, this is basically a rebuild year for them. So I'm picking the San Francisco. We can just keep it short and sweet. San Fran, of course, he also has San Fran.
Give me San Fran as well. They're favored by 10 points at home.
Oh dear. Yeah, you might take the over on that one. Let's see here. You got the game of the week on CBS. Of course, they got the doubleheader this week. You got the Chiefs and the Chargers. Jesus. Yeah, I mean,
Kansas City for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think the Chargers will cover by the KC wins, if that makes sense. I think, and Chrissy also has KC, so yeah, short and sweet here. But I mean, look, we've seen weird things happen in this rivalry. These two AFC South foes. So yeah, I think Kansas City they should be able to pull this out. But again, I'm sure Jim Harbaugh will have his guys ready. But I'm picking KC.
Yeah, Kansas City is favored by 7 on the road.
I think they're gonna cover. I think the Chargers will cover. I think Harbaugh will have a. Yeah, I think that they'll cover. I think, but we'll see. The Browns and the Raiders, of course. Christy, she has Vegas. Of course, you guys know her reason. For not
I knew it.
Well, of course, but yeah, I think I know Devontae Adams is a little banged up. They may make a change at QB. I'm talking about them, but Myles Garrett, he's been back and forth, and that Brown squad, the offense is just not very good. So I'm picking Vegas, and I know they're going to want to. They're not going to be in a good mood after losing to the Panthers last week. So I think the Vegas, might be paid a little bit more motivated. I think.
I hate to say this, I'm joining you guys as well. I'm going with the Raiders. They're favored by 1.5 at home, so this is basically a pick 'em.
Yeah. So, well, good Lord, watch Deshaun Watson have his best game of the season. Like, my God. Okay. I'm not.
For Christine's sake.
Yeah, I'll say I'm trying not to put that out there, but you never know. All right. One of the games of the week for Sunday night, you got the Bills and the Ravens. You start this one this time, Sid.
Baltimore's favored by 2.5 points at home. Of course, Baltimore lost their last game to Vegas. The Bills are 3-0. Dominated last Monday night at home against Jacksonville. I'm trusting the Ravens to get back on track here. They have as Christine was saying, the great home field advantage with the fans going raving wild. I hope we won't watch the offense of Baltimore pull teeth. Derrick Henry, he's back this year. 4 rushing touchdowns so far this year, close to 300 yards, rushing yards total overall. I'm going Baltimore here.
Yep. Yeah, I might regret this later, but I'm picking Baltimore as well. I'm like what Bart Scott said on Get Up Early. I know all the guys were kind of yelling at him, but you're being a homer because you played at Baltimore. But look, I think they're starting to get it going. If the defense can kind of just get it together, because they've got the talent, they just got the scheme. They got a new scheme they're learning, so they got to get it going here. And I think they can kind of look Buffalo. I don't know what to think of Buffalo. I mean, I really don't, because look, it was great to see DeMar Hamlin get that first interception. You know, we know everything he's been through. He deserves everything, every great thing happening to him from here on out. Josh Allen, I think, is playing at an MVP level at the moment. But again, I don't know. I mean, I think Baltimore is more of an urgent game for Baltimore, because if they win, they go 2-2, and get a little bit of a leg up there in the AFC North. Stay close to Pittsburgh. I'm picking Baltimore, although Christine, despite what you said earlier about her liking the home team, she's actually picking Buffalo, oddly enough. So, yeah. But again, look, this is like another, I know I'm a little surprised that Baltimore is a favorite, but maybe Vegas knows something we don't. But yeah, it should be an interesting one over there in Baltimore.
I think it's going to be a good physical game here.
Could be a good one on Sunday night. The first of the Monday night, quasi doubleheader, if you will, will be at 6:30 Chicago time. You got the Titans and the Dolphins. Gosh, I mean, Jesus. I'm gonna wait. I'm waiting for. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for Seahawks and Detroit, because this game is just basically steer clear, as they say, of this one. For all you odds makers. I'll pick Tennessee, because someone's got to win, I guess, unless there's a tie. So I guess I'll pick Tennessee just because I don't really know.
Only because they're the home favorite. I'm picking Miami. Miami's favored by 1, by the way. So which means I had to pick them.
So Vegas is basically saying stay away from this game too, I guess.
Yeah.
Christy has Tennessee. She says it's going to be an ugly game, and it might be. So she might be right. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, the real Monday night here, of course, you've got Seattle and the Lions. Of course, we all know Seattle beat the Lions last year in Detroit. So will it be the same here? I mean, gosh, this is you start this one, Sid.
Oh, great! Now I get to start it. Detroit's 3.5. Detroit's the 3.5 point favorite at home. They looked good last week against the Arizona Cardinals on the road. The Seahawks, no one expected them to start 3-0. But head coach Mike McDonald, y'all won't be there. Yeah, he's going to be there looking down on the other side of the road. I think the Lions has something in store for them. And so for that alone, and they have a better running game. I'm talking about Detroit. They have a better running game than the Seahawks. I'm going with the Lions.
Oh boy, this is another my God, this is another tough one for me. This is probably one of those games that can go either way. Now, again, I know they beat them last year at home. I don't think they're going to do it again. I think Detroit will do. This will be another physical game, and I think Detroit will do just enough to win. So I'm also picking the Lions, and let me see who Christine picked. Let me see here. She is also picking the Lions. So this could be a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, look, watching us throw for like 4 touchdowns or something, but again, you never know. So, but it should, like I said, this will definitely be a better Monday night game than that first one. So, that'll probably be the case there. Now, last but not least, the beloved and the Rams. I'm trying to see if there have been any updates on Keenan Allen. Just when I thought that we figured out this Bear squad, they do something silly and they end up, not doing so well. So I don't know what to think about this game. Like I said, I'm not probably gonna watch any of it. I do have it recorded, so I'll probably watch. Just skip through all the bad stuff, which I'm sure it probably will be a lot. So this could be one of those 6-3, 9-6 kind of deals. I'm picking the Bears. But again, like I said last week, the caveat, you're playing a much better quarterback like you did against the Colts last week. You got to get the balanced offense attack early. And if you don't, then it could be a long game, over there in Soldier. So I'm picking the Bears, but again, the caveat was to say the same thing I said last week. If the Rams can get Kyron Williams the ball a lot, and Sean McVay's going to be it's like a mad scientist, so he's going to be looking at every single thing. He's going to make sure his guys are ready, and take advantage of the Bears' shortcomings. So the Rams win. I wouldn't be surprised, but I am picking the Bears, but it'll be an ugly one.
I think the Bears will slightly play better offensively, but they have the better talent overall defensively. The Rams have offensive line issues. I think the Bears' defensive front would take advantage of that. Like I said in our last segment, I'm looking for the Bears' run defense. It's going to be a challenge against Kyron Williams. If they can step up and stop him, I think the Bears will win this game. So it's still going to be ugly close, but I'm picking the Bears to win. The Chicago's favored by 3 points at home.
3 points. Okay, so it could be. So it's basically they think it's a pick 'em. So okay, so it should be for Christine also. She actually has the Rams. So, but I think for the same reason, I didn't pick the Rams, but it wouldn't be surprised if they do beat the Bears for the same reason. So it should be interesting to see what happens with this matchup. And that is our picks for NFL Week 4. Actually, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you now. WNBA playoff update here. Of course, I think the big news for WNBA out off the court is that the Sky fired Teresa Witherspoon after only one season. The news came out late last night, kind of out of like a news dump in the middle of the Cowboys and Giants. So I'm a little surprised. They're not really giving any details as to why she got the boot. Something's, as I said earlier on my Twitter account at Kingdom McGee, something's rotten in the state of Denmark. It just something still feels kind of off here.
I don't know if you read that post by Angel Reese that she released.
I did
late last night, and so like I said, I like the identity of the team. It was headed by Teresa Witherspoon, but like you said, there's something going on between them in the front office, and it may be maybe there was some issues between her and some of the key players on the team. We don't know, but I'm sure those stories will come out in due time. But I was kind of shocked, just like you were when I heard that news last night.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do here. I know, it will be interesting to kind of see, do they promote from within? Do they perhaps maybe go outside? Because there are some coaches out there on the market right now. I know the guy that I forgot the guy's name that coached the Sparks, so he got fired. So maybe he might be a guy there. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you trade one of your top players in the middle of the season. I don't know if that was Coach Spoon's doing, or maybe someone else is doing at the top. But it just something seems kind of off. So we'll see. Like I said, I read Angel Reese's quote yesterday. She's not very happy. I know some other players don't feel the same way. So we'll see what happens there. But something seems kind of off. But we'll see. So definitely something that could something to watch out for, as well as that continues to develop. Going into, of course, the playoffs, the actual playoffs. It'll be the rematch of the last year's finals. WNBA finals. You have Las Vegas and the Liberty, and of course you got Connecticut and Minnesota. Now it'll be interesting to see what the ratings are going to be now that Caitlin Clark is out. Of course, so yeah, I want to see what the ratings are going to be, because some people are going to be telling on themselves at this point.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that even though Caitlin Clark's team is eliminated now, the Indiana Fever, they set a record last week on, I believe it was on ESPN, right in the heart of the football Sunday schedule. So, like you said, Lakina, those ratings are doing well on other networks, even when she wasn't playing. Her team was not playing, but like I said, this is a true test now, because we're getting deeper into the playoffs.
And of course, I think the reason why the Minnesota Phoenix game played so well, of course, this could be Diana Taurasi's last game. She hasn't officially made her a retirement announcement yet, but that's some people are wondering, is that going to be the last game for her? So I think that's probably why that game did as well as the other one. But there was definitely a big drop. So I think, again, folks are probably telling on themselves there too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, the race will be interesting, especially because both these games are going to be on Sunday. So All right. So we'll see what happens with that. So I know there was something else we wanted to talk about. So before we wrap up, we still got a little bit of time.
We got to get into baseball. Of course, the White
Yeah.
Sox avoided history by sweeping the Anaheim Angels
Oh God.
yesterday. I know there was some Sox fans that were there cheering on the Angels to see that record fall. I don't know if you saw the tweet from our girl Alyssa Berger Mini. She basically called out those fans that wanted to see the White Sox lose, but the Sox, they're trying to avoid history as they'll face the Detroit Tigers in Motown this weekend. I don't think Jason Benet will be calling the games on Bally Sports Detroit. Not tonight, not tomorrow, because I think he has college football duties. Now, secretly he's even though he was a White Sox fan. But secretly, I'm sure he's like, right, store, take it up your what. All the Tigers need to do is win one of these next 3 games so they're in the playoffs. So I believe the same thing with Kansas City.
Yep.
The Minnesota Twins, they lost the game last night. I believe one more loss and they're officially done. So as I gave you the statistics for Minnesota on Monday, their offense has been rotten. And you saw them struggling against a 100 loss of Miami team. Miami Marlins team, they couldn't get it done last night in extra innings, and their starting pitching, their bullpen has been suffering because of it. We're going to see 3 teams from the AL Central in the playoffs this year. No one thought it was going to be the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah,
nor Kansas City.
Right, I don't think anybody had that earlier this year that you're gonna have 3 teams going from the AL Central. But I think Detroit, their match number is 1. Minnesota, their tragic number is 1. So basically, they have to win to stay to keep themselves in it. And of course, I know the Royals, they got to win as well. Now, the Yankees was like, they clinched the AL East last night, but Baltimore is also going to the playoffs, so that's it there. Cleveland, of course, officially clinched the AL Central earlier this week. Houston clinched the AL West. Of course, my Mariners were eliminated. Philadelphia, they got the NL East for the first time, oddly enough, since actually the year they won the World Series in 2008, which is sort of crazy to me. But the night progresses. Really going to be a little log jam here between them, the Mets, the Braves, and the Diamondbacks. One of these teams will not be going to the playoffs. So, San Diego, they clinch. The Dodgers win one of those games in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. All the Dodgers did clinch last night, I should say, their 17th NL West title in 18 years. Which is nothing short of remarkable. Shohei, I think, broke another record of, I think he had another stolen base. I think he had like 60 some stolen bases now, which is insane. But there's still some spots to be decided. So if you're baseball, these last 3 games, you gotta be feeling pretty good where you're at right now.
And we talked about college football early being affected by Hurricane Helene. Baseball world is being affected by it as well. Of course, the New York Mets and Atlanta Braves, they were supposed to play 3 games. They only got 1 in. Those 2 games between the Mets and the Braves will be made up on Monday. Of course, the Mets, I assume they made it out of Atlanta safely late last night or early this morning. They have a weekend series in Milwaukee. And, of course, the Atlanta Braves, they'll host the Kansas City Royals starting tonight. We'll give you the rest of the schedule in just a moment. So I think the Mets can clinch the playoffs if they sweep the Brewers. If they do, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they sweep the Brewers or take 2 out of 3, they may not need those games on Monday. But they may have to, after playing in Milwaukee this weekend, travel to Atlanta, play 2 games before possibly going to San Diego to start the wild card series. The Mets will be a tired bunch. Yeah,
that's going to be a lot of traveling for them these next few days. So I think the way it sets up, I think their match number is 2 to clinch the spot. So if they win 2 of those games, those games in Atlanta may not matter, but they still may have to travel anyway because Atlanta might still have a chance at a playoff spot still. Right. So if you're the Mets, you're kind of like you're wondering like what to do here, but it is what it is with the scheduling too. So. You feel for the Mets because they're gonna be a tired bunch. They end up having to go to San Diego for the wild card series, but should be interesting to see what happens there. Of course, Detroit as Chicago, the White Sox. Like I said, they got to win one of these games, I think Jason Benet is not going to be doing these games. I know people were like, "Oh, well, no, he's not going to be there." So not till Sunday, I think. So, but I'm sure if you're Detroit, you want to try to clinch one of these games so you can clinch in, not even worry about it the rest of the weekend. So we'll see what happens. There, no Apple TV Plus game. They're done for the year. So Kansas City and Atlanta, they're going to try to play those games. Starting tonight. Really, the San Diego and Arizona. I mean, I know Arizona still have to win to get a playoff berth.
Yeah, they've been struggling lately.
Not a good time for that. Well, now you know how the Cubs felt last year when they beat them. I love full circle moments. But the Fox game at 6:15, you got Baltimore and Minnesota. They've been eliminated. The Mets and the Brewers. We'll see where they are. But I think this might be a chance for them to clinch a playoff spot. Let's talk about the Mets. So those games will be on Fox. And no ESPN Sunday Night baseball game because they're done for that season. But yeah, those are really the only games of importance now.
Yeah, and of course all the games on Sunday, including the ones that don't matter, they'll start at 2:00 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Could be just to kind of make sure you got scoreboard watching. So that is the schedule for the last couple of days in MLB.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakina here with you. Before we go, Lakina, I want to talk about what happened yesterday in the Bay Area between the Oakland Athletics and the Texas Rangers. Of course, this is the last game that was played at the old Oakland Alameda Coliseum. Shout out to MLB Network. They broadcasted the game, including the pregame show for NBC Sports Bay Area / California. I don't know if you saw any of the clips. I watched the pregame show. I watched the majority of the game. Brody Brazil and Bib Roberts, former Oakland A's player from his hometown of Oakland. Bib Roberts was in tears during the postgame show.
I saw that, yeah.
Brody Brazil was a loss for words both during both the pre and the postgame show. But Jenny Cavanaugh, first year TV announcer in Dallas Braden, who pitched a no-hitter in the Oakland uniform on Mother's Day about 10, 12 years ago. They did a great job calling that game. Of course, Oakland got the victory yesterday by the score of 3-2. I noticed a couple of things, during yesterday's broadcast. Barry Zito doing quite well in the music world, even though it's underground. He's sang the national anthem, but before then, they brought out the legends, including Dave Stewart and Ricky Henderson. And guess what song they played? Oakland native MC Hammer's "You Can't Touch This." As you know, he sampled Rick James' Super Freak.
But, of course.
They played that. And, of course, following the game yesterday, former Oakland A's player and, of course, current manager Mark Hartsey fired up the crowd, giving the crowd some
inspiring... White Sox, Mark Hartsey.
Yeah, giving them some inspiring words for the Oakland fans. And they played, you notice, if you paid attention closely, Lakina, after that, they played the song. This group, I forgot, was from Oakland. The Loonies, I Got 5 on it, the remix.
Yes.
From 1995. Talking about us feeling old. I don't know if you noticed that yesterday.
I remember. Oh, I heard that. Yeah. Well, they do it all the time there, over there in Oakland. So yeah, they play it at all the games. I've noticed. Like I said, they are from. I forgot they're from. I keep forgetting they're from Oakland. So again, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, if you heard Dallas Braden's words afterwards, and you could tell he was crying. His youngest daughter, his oldest daughter said, "Hey, does this mean that we're not going to be going to A's games in Oakland anymore?" He said, "No," and they're her younger sister, of course, his youngest daughter. Of course she went, but I think she was a little bit young, so unfortunately, you're not going to have those moments where you kind of have that camaraderie there. You saw, I think a couple guys ran on the field. I think trying to take some stuff, and I know they took some dirt. And the A's slew the crowd as they were leaving. And if you saw Larry Beals, I'll give Larry Beal credit over ABC, the ABC affiliate in San Francisco.
Former ESPN or from back in the day.
Yes. See how old we are, Sid. But yeah, I mean, I'll give him credit. He didn't swear. He didn't raise his voice. He kept a very even keel. And the way he kind of went on, early this week, go on YouTube because it's fabulous. He basically kind of gave you the 401 as to why this is happening. And they're going to be in Sacramento for 3 years. and they may not have a home after because they haven't finalized a home for Las Vegas yet, so they may not even be going to Las Vegas. They're gonna be, so the whole thing is just kind of crazy, and someone wondering if the White Sox might be going through this too in a few years if Jerry Wise decides to move the White Sox to Nashville. But again, that's a different discussion for a different time. But I digress. But yeah, I mean, Oakland, I feel bad for the folks there because there's so much rich history with that team, and of course they won 4 World Series during their span. Of course in the 70s, of course they won one in the A's. I think Dennis Eckersley was there. I think for last week, but I think he was able to be there. I think yesterday, but I know he said something earlier about that, and Jose Canseco, of course, during those years, him and Mark McGwire. I know he posted something.
Follow him on Instagram. Talking about Jose Canseco. I follow him on Instagram. He's an interesting follow.
Well, he's a great follow on Twitter X as well. So yeah. Social media is really is great too. But yeah, it's definitely the end of an era over there in Oakland. Those fans deserve better. Like Larry said, it's unfortunate this is the case, but I mean, it's just sad that this is a sad side of sports where money kind of is the root of all evil. But it is what it is. I hate saying that, but it is.
Yeah, that's kind of what Scott Van Pelt of ESPN said last night on Sports, and I caught a clip of it this morning on social media. He kind of said the same thing. This is what we sign up for. Your team loses, it's heartbreak. I'm just paraphrasing him. You talk about your favorite coach, your favorite players leaving via free agency, via trade, but this is the ugly side of sports, so no one signs up for it.
So yeah. So our thoughts are with you guys over there in Oakland. As we see what happens as they move to Sacramento, and what happens after that. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens to that stadium. So, yeah, just interesting follow there. Well, also too, like I said, a little bit of breaking news here. Of course, I think I alluded to it earlier in the show, but Will Perdue, of course, he wasn't asked to come to the new sports network for Chicago, but he is joining our buddies Matt Peck and Big Dave Watson, of course, also Will Gottlieb as well for their CHGO Bulls coverage coming up this year. So. Congrats to him. I know that was a really funny video they posted yesterday. Of course, it was his lifelong dream. That was hilarious. But yeah, I love his insight. I love his takes. So it should be fun with those 4. Nice little camaraderie with those 4. Yeah. Yeah.
So like I said, Will Perdue, a constant professional. He knows what he's talking about, and he'll make that coverage over there, CHGO, much better, especially with given what potential you can see on the floor this year. He'll further explain what the Bulls, this Bulls team is trying to do this year. So the coverage is going to be much better because of him. So, like I said, we know Matt Peck and Big Dave Watson, great friends of the show. They do a great job already. Their coverage just got much better with Will.
Yeah, absolutely. And you feel for the people over there at NBC Sports Chicago. Of course, it will be cease to exist on Monday at 11:59. A lot of people.
We'll talk about it on Monday.
We'll talk a little bit more in depth on Monday, but yeah, I mean. A lot of interesting moments there, but interesting things happening. We'll see how that new network. Hopefully, there'll be more people will be able to watch the network coming up. YouTube TV.
I got a notice from Xfinity and Lakina. I think Jeff Agrest posted it up on his social media. He's the sports media columnist over there at the Chicago Sun-Times. They gave us an update. It'll be but NBC Sports Chicago going away, but no new updates as far as the new network, not yet, because it's supposed to start next Tuesday.
All right, we'll see if there are more. I know it's gonna be
right. Could it be 11th hour deal, which seems to happen?
It happens.
It happens, but we'll see. Hopefully, we'll have some news about it on Monday. Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, look, the good news is for those Blackhawks preseason games will be airing on their website and on their YouTube channel. So make sure you guys check that out.
I think the one tonight should be as well.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so at least they'll have you won't miss the Blackhawks hockey, so that's good. And of course, the Sox season will be over with by Sunday, so that won't matter. But also, good news, Steve Stone will be a part of that. He'll be a part along with John Schriffen. So he broke that news yesterday before the last game against the Angels. So that's a little comforting there, to say the least. But Steve Stone is one of the best. So that's great for all of baseball, not just for the White Sox and their fans. Anything else to say before we disperse?
Well, get ready to enjoy this weekend. The first weekend in a while I get to, for the majority of it anyway, at least stay home.
That sounds good. With that said, of course, don't forget our radio-a-thon with our girl Christine Mann from KXR Beef, benefiting pediatric cancer for kids. 630-3605, I should say, 328-5750. Again, that's 605-328-5750. Tell your friends about this, and hopefully, they'll raise a lot of money like they usually do. And you have all weekend, just to promote, just donate something, even if it's $1, because it goes right to the organization. So right there, the Radiothon, over there up there in KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Make sure you guys check that out if you can. Donate what you can if you can. You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X and the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media. PODCASTS. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. So thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you get Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on the Roku app. If you got the Roku app, whatever device you got, whether it's your smartphone, your smart TV, or right here on your computer or tablet, you can catch, just type in Sports Zone Chicago on their Play Store. You can catch our show, replays of our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Bellows, What's Up Cuz, and other great stuff too from our great content from our network. Of course, Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV.
And we will provide.
All right, so those of you who are on the path of Hurricane Helene, stay safe, and dry if you can down there. Also, too, of course, the rest of the country, a little bit of fall weather, but it's cool. Enjoy the baseball, the last couple days of the baseball season. Of course, all the NFL, college football, WNBA if you're into that, and motorsports and soccer and a whole lot more. I love this time of year, Sid. It's always a fun time in sports to be a sports fan. For Sid, I'm with Kansas City Sports, Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Dub Bears, holla!